Listen, I don't teach behind the pulpit because I'm too short to see over it. So I pulled the card out tonight. I like to give a little bit of a background about where my lessons come from. So this one is a little awkward for me to talk about because I got a concealed carry permit. So Sister Katie and I were talking about it, and we were talking about whether or not we bring guns to church. And I looked at her and said, well, there are Levi priests who have swords defending the temple. I'm bringing my gun to church. It's not on me tonight, just so y'all know. But anyway, this whole thing came from the idea of the Levi priests. There were an order of them, and I've got scripture for it tonight, who had their weapons, and they were there to defend the temple. So the first place I want to start is in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. This is probably my favorite scripture to teach my little bitty ones, but it's 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. So this says, it reads, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Now, they're talking about us, right? And what I love about this scripture is it names us as a royal priesthood, which gives us the right to the rest of what I'm about to talk about. If you are a child of God, and that makes you part of the royal priesthood. So, of course, I went and looked up to make sure I wasn't an idiot about the priesthood. So, in Numbers, chapter 1, verse 53, in the book of Numbers, in this particular scripture, they are giving the requirements and the duties and the orders for all of the priests. And this is what they say in Numbers chapter 1, verse 53. "But the Levites shall pitch round about the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel. And the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony." So then I looked up and did some research on it, because again, I say it all the time, I'm a dork. And it said that they were guarding God's glory and God's honor. So I took that and ran with it, and want to talk for just a brief moment, and then I'm going to really get into what I'm going to talk about, hopefully, about the armor of God. In the armor of God, we know the armor of God. I'm assuming most of you, all of you know it. And so we start up in our head and how we have the helmet of salvation to protect our mind. And we have the breastplate of righteousness to protect our heart. And the belt of truth to protect our children. Love that one. The shoes of the gospel of peace to put us on the right road and protect us there. And then you have the sword, and everybody wants to talk about the sword, but I want to talk about faith, the shield of faith. Now, a couple years ago, I was teaching children's church, and I'm talking like 10 years ago, and I was teaching children's church, and in this lesson, I was talking about, we got to the shield of faith, and I said, guys, this is the one that is protecting when all the other ones are missing. And you're fighting a battle and your helmet gets knocked off. What does that shield do? Right? It's all up there protecting your salvation. It's protecting your mind. Or you're not going the right way, and that's like, oh no, man, you're not getting a hold of my feet. You're blocking him in all those places because that's the only one that can be changed, right? The helmet's got to stay on your head. The shoes have to stay on your feet, unless you're, Elizabeth and you're wearing them on your hands or something. Where else are you going to put them, right? All these other places have the place that they go. They're fitly joined exactly where they need to go. But the faith, and guys, this is the part that got me when I was teaching the lesson. I said, it goes first in the battle. Nobody sticks their head out there like this, going, come on, Satan, let's go. No, they got faith up. And they're like, hey, I don't know what you think you're going to do, but I got this. I got this, and you can't have this, and you can't have my children, you can't have my mind. And so, with that being said, my favorite scripture, and I have a lot of them, but my favorite one came to mind, and it's 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 26, and it reads, Therefore so run, not as uncertainly, because that means I'm not like running like Mama Christie, like this, No, I have a goal, I have a purpose, I have something I'm headed towards, but then my favorite part is, so I fight, not as one that beateth the air. Not as one that beateth the air. And what this is you're not just flaying around all whatever, but you have a purpose and you have a goal and you have a mindset and you have your faith, you have that shield of faith, and you know where you're headed and you know what's coming your way, and you are like, no, not today, Satan. So what I did was I was listening to a podcast, and I know y'all about sick of that, but I made everybody one of these, okay? So Brother Logan, can you come help me? Now, I want to go back to this verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 26 says, Therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. Can you pass those out? So while he's getting to it, and the guy said this, and I wrote in my notes, if you guys want to see it, it says, mind blown. Okay? Because I had this like, man, this has got me. And so when you see it, and I want everybody to have this, it says, faith is, okay, the faith is part is missing because I just want you to remember that. Faith is acting like it is so, even when it's not so that it might be so, simply because God said so. So here I am, going through what I wanted to bring out tonight, and I was talking about fighting and this faith and this mighty armor of God that we have, and the faith that goes through, and then I remembered, but faith is, this thing is believing that I'm going to act like it is so. I'm marching on into battle because God already said so. God already said so. And I'm believing that if everything goes wrong, because we're in the middle of a battle, everybody was talking about that tonight. Everything is going crazy and upside down and backwards and hurt and fights and all this stuff going on. But faith is getting up every day knowing that it is already so. And I can have faith. I can have the armor of God even when I don't feel like my mind's right. Even when I feel like I'm scattered. I can feel like when I'm not going the right way, I know that if I have faith, that God knows where I'm going even if I don't. I can go on in faith in that. So then I was thinking of what are you fighting for? So here's the problem with faith and with the armor of God. There's nothing going on behind you. So these Levite priests are guarding the temple of God. Do you know that means that they are not at their neighbor's house fighting off the guards there? They're not in another country fighting the enemy there. They're taking care of God's glory and God's honor. They're protecting their peace. They're protecting righteousness. They're protecting holiness above all others. So tonight I wanted to ask, what are you busy fighting for that's wearing you down, exhausting you, beating you all to pieces for somebody else? Or for a job you're not supposed to be at, or for a mindset that's got you staying anxious, or for, I don't know, freedom, independence, whatever, but you're fighting this with all you